Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the ongoing journey of the Friendship Project. My name's Andrew. I'll be the Zoom facilitator for this workshop. Please note that we are recording this workshop. If you'd rather be incognito, you can either turn off your camera, you can change your name, whatever makes you feel comfortable. If you would like to see closed captioning during this workshop, click the CC/live transcript button at the bottom of your screen, and then click on live transcript, enable auto transcription. And that'll bring up kind of a running closed caption of everything that's said, and it's close enough. It's pretty good. We ask participants to keep themselves on mute. If you have any questions or comments for the presenters, use the chat box or raise your hand either physically or by clicking raise hand. We'll read your questions, and there will be a Q&A at the end. If at any time you would like peer support, please visit our website for warm lines. There's also an open room throughout the conference listed in the conference program. You can join at any time. It's open if you would just like to go and hang out with others. We ask participants to please honor the conference comfort/discomfort agreement. Take care of yourself, be respectful, choose curiosity over judgment, keep an open mind, lean into discomfort, and if you can, listen actively. So that's my spiel. I will hand the mic to Dan.
Hello, citizens of the United States. Hello, if you're from the West Coast, if you're from the mountains or the Central or the East Coast. Welcome, everybody. So, without further ado, let's just get this started. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is called the Friendship Project. It was an idea based on just, personal experience. I'm a person with lived experience in mental health and in some substance use challenges too. And I just realized that, friendship is something that was very important to me to be able to, have the support to, move on with life and in sort of, reconcile and with, friends and people who are actively listening to me, to be able to, start, I guess, recovery, quote unquote, right? So the idea behind the Friendship Project is to create an army of friends who can, who volunteer friends, who can create, and the only qualification for the volunteers is that they're compassionate people and that they have experience building friendships and maintaining friendships, and to connect the volunteers, these wonderful people, with people who are maybe transitioning from institutional settings back into the community, or anyone from the behavioral health community who could really benefit from a friendship, a positive friendship. Often people who are struggling with, behavioral health issues, whether it be substance abuse or mental health, maybe they have friends, but maybe those friends aren't, as supportive as a friend really could be. So that's the idea behind the project. Now we have a, and it's a tiny project. It's a little mustard seed right now. But I'll talk to you about here I talk to you about the idea, and I'll talk to you also about how it's manifested in the journey to the manifestation of the project, even though it is a little thing right now. And we'll have a Q&A also. So we have a poll right now. Andrew, could you extend that poll to our visitors? And cool, there it is. So the question is, are your friendships more essential to your recovery than traditional modes of care like therapy and meds? So either more important, equally important, less important, or you just don't know. Who knows? I don't really think about these things. So So we'll give this poll a few minutes to Andrew, can our visitors see the results, or is it just you and I who can see the results?
I hit share results.
Oh, so we can all see it. Okay, that's great. So it looks like 50% of us said it's equally important, and 25%, followed by 25% said friendship is more important than traditional modes of care like therapy and meds. 17% said less important, and 8% said unsure. And this is out of 12 people who have participated. So hey, that's pretty good. I mean, I feel the same way. That's the idea behind the Friendship Project, is that, you know, friendship is easily, in my opinion, equally important to traditional modes of care. That type of support we can get from friends, because we can talk, because friends, if it's a real friendship, you know, they're not judging us, they're listening to us, and you know, and yes, well, let's just let's just move on. Let's keep going. Okay, so what were the first steps in creating the Friendship Project? Talk to people in my network. I've been doing like peer advocacy for many years, and so I have a number of people in my network who are doing really like important things, like working with peer certification, or being connected to government or nonprofits. So I know a bunch of people. So I talked to them. I said, hey, I have this project. What do you think? And they were all pretty supportive. Seek people to get involved. Yes, I want people to get involved. So I formed an advisory group of, you know, 5 or 6 people. Mainly, most of them were people with the lived experience of mental health, substance abuse, and also incarceration experience. You know, some of them have been in prison, in jail, and they miraculously, you know, made a transition into the community, even with the other issues too. And okay, I wrote a project description. I can definitely, like at the end, you'll have my email, and you can write to me, and I can send you links to the project description, like the questions I ask in interviews and all this stuff. And I'd be happy to share that with you. So these are the first steps. Second steps. Research to see who's done it before, right? I mean, you know, no idea is an original idea. Everything, you know, comes out of the ether, but there's like 7 billion of us on planet Earth. So how many of us have like really brilliant, like, you know, unique ideas that no one else has had, right? I mean, 7 billion, can you conceive of that? So Compeer has done something similar. Compeer is an organization that pairs volunteers with people with mental health issues. And they've been doing it for like, like at least 20 years. But they're not strictly like peer-to-peer like the Friendship Project. Sometimes they get peers, but often it's just, you know, just everyday people who want to volunteer and work with people with mental health challenges. So there's a difference there. And also, Compeer doesn't really, they don't work with homeless or people actively like is struggling with mental health issues. They also work with like the therapists, and they have like referral forms, and they work with clinical teams and stuff like that. The volunteers, you know, might report to the clinical teams. So there's nothing like, there's no working with the clinicians as part of this project. We're really like, I mean, I'll talk about, you know, trying to get through to the organization on the organizational level. I reached out to several organizations. I'll talk to you about that. And it just, it helped me to realize that maybe going through, you know, the system routes isn't the way to go for this project, but Compeer has been doing it that way. Challenges experiencing, and oh, well, here we go. Challenges. I went to the big ones. I'm from New York City. I went to the big ones in New York. Fortune Society, Osborne Association, Exodus, Cases, a number of organizations, really they said, oh, what a great idea, let's meet. Some of them met with me, but then they shot me down, and they said, oh, one of them said, oh, but what if our clients' feelings get hurt? Because I was trying to connect our volunteers to their, what they call clients, our peers, through the organization, through standard routes, speaking to directors of mental health or what have you, or substance use services. And so at best, I had meetings with them where they were not too impressed. But at other times, I was just, ghosted. They would say, oh, what an interesting idea in an email, and then not respond, ever. And, other times, I would set up meetings with them that they would not show up for, or they would just, ghost me some more. So we had these meetings, and I was like, hey, meet our volunteers, but they decided maybe they'll take a pass on that. So I tried, but I have had good experience with like Fountain House. Fountain House has been pretty supportive, and it was through Fountain House that a couple of the volunteers have been matched. So here, what are the third steps? So promote the volunteer opportunity, which I did, through social media and my email list, that we have this volunteer opportunity. It's the Friendship Project, and a lot of the volunteers are peer specialists. And I run a support group for peer specialists. What I've learned a lot of the time from peer specialists is that they're not always given the opportunity to provide peer support, because they work for like a more clinical environment. And, some of them are even, I've heard stories where, clinicians are I pressured the peer worker to, encourage your peer to take the medication, even if, and the Friendship Project isn't about, and it's a non-clinical a non-clinical quote unquote intervention, which is, I guess, what some people call it. I'm not a clinician. I'm just a peer who, wants to help. I mean, it's something that's helped me. Why can't it help others? And so, yeah. And my mind is like a sieve, so one thought will come in and then disappear, but it'll come back, I promise you. So so I've gotten a response, and the volunteers have come forward, and I started interviewing the volunteers, and it's just been wonderful. Like there hasn't been a single person who wanted to do this who I rejected after the interview, because I mean, they all came in there and demonstrated through the interview process their compassion for this type of opportunity, and also that they have experience in building friendships. And like I said, many of them are peer specialists who want to do peer support, and this is kind of an opportunity to do real peer support. And so I created a volunteer pool. So yeah, there was a spreadsheet. Fourth steps. So, oh my God, there's liability issues. Oh no! Yes, I spoke to a lawyer about liability issues and precautions, right? And they were like, hey, well, if you want to protect yourself, why don't you build a nonprofit around it? So I was like, okay, well, I'll think about it. Oh, and here are I tried to attract, I got the volunteer pool, that was done, third step, right? But the fourth step is to connect the volunteers to friends from the community who might be struggling, who might need a friend. And that has been very challenging because like I went through the traditional routes through the system, like all these organizations I mentioned, and they're just not willing to take a risk on what really is a low risk, low budget, low everything project. you know, the worst that can happen is, I guess, a friend offends a friend. How many times have you been offended by a friend? But some of these organizations are like, oh, what if our clients' feelings are hurt? And I was like, well, has your friend ever hurt your feelings? And one of them said yes. And I asked them, did that destroy your life? And they were like, no, we're still friends. I'm like, okay, there you go. So make matches between volunteers and friends. Okay, so yes, I have to do that, and that's the big challenge now. So we'll see how it goes. And the traditional route may not be the route. 5th steps. Volunteers start building friendships for a suggested 1 hour per week. Okay, so some of the volunteers have been matched, and they have started building friendships for, they tell me they've been doing it for 1 hour a week, or, I mean, it could be like a half hour. It's more about quality time than quantity time, like really, like, when there's a space created. And oh, by the way, the Friendship Project is strictly on the phone and via virtual stuff. There's no in-person, meetings or whatever. And I know that's an issue. I mean, Compere has been doing the in-person stuff, but our project, I guess, to help reduce like liability issues, but I just feel if you have like a comforting, like warm, supportive person on the phone, and COVID has shown us that phone support and virtual support can be really effective supports to help you just to live your life and deal with problems. So yeah, so that's I guess that's one limitation of the project. It isn't in person. It's discouraged. I mean, but if friends want to meet, I can't stop them. And it's perfectly fine. I mean, as long as it's in a public space and no one's going into anyone's apartment or anything like that. I think it should be all right. But that's beyond the scope of the project, and that's in like the project description, that it's beyond the scope. Volunteers meet with me because I'm the only one like providing supervision. So they meet with me bi-weekly or monthly to discuss issues and challenges. Also, we'll start meeting as a group to share the experiences of building friendships with each other. So we'll have like this group think, so that we can, bounce off ideas with each other and our challenges, share those things. Okay. Oh, and everybody learns and grows. Yeah. 6 steps. Okay, so we talked about the lawyer said form a nonprofit organization. So I am forming a nonprofit organization. It's going to be a tiny little nonprofit organization, kind of like the Millennium Falcon in comparison to the those cruiser ships that the Empire had. It's a tiny little nonprofit. So we're going to we have a board of just like 3 directors. I'm one of the directors because I understand in the beginning of a nonprofit, I could take on, the president or CEO position of the Millennium Falcon. And I have 2 other directors I got who I've worked with in the past who are great. Oh, and Skip, who's Helen Skipper, who's doing the keynote today, I think this afternoon. She's actually one of the directors. So seek legal help with the forms, right? So I need, these forms, they're pretty basic IRS, New York State stuff, but some of it's like technical legalese, and I'm not a lawyer, so I sought help for pro bono lawyers, and a pro bono law firm that starts with Pillsbury, blah, 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 something, has agreed to help me. So next week, I'm going to be talking to them about their contract that they want me to sign and working with them. So also seek financial assistance. There are some startup fees to starting a nonprofit. Since we're a tiny nonprofit, the fees are less. It's like $400 to $500, and I don't have that kind of cash. So I have sought financial assistance, not loans, but actually like grants. Actually, I think this organization that sponsored, or you know, Dan Fisher's organization, you know, I forget, the Empowerment Center maybe or something. They offer to help supplement some of these costs. So thank you to them. So how has it manifested so far? what are the deliverables, right? Okay, so like I said, it's a small operation. We're just piloting it out because we're learning as we go. And oh, by the way, if you have any questions, there's going to be a Q&A, so don't worry about that. So right now we have only 10 volunteers, and they've been interviewed and accepted, and only 2 volunteers are building friendships with their peers. But that's okay, because even if we can help 1 peer, I think, you know, there's a Jewish saying, if you can help, if just 1 person, you've helped, you know, the world, you've helped the universe, you've helped aliens on QI 92, about half a billion light years away. It's an amazing thing. Okay, so many people are aware and supportive of what we're doing. Yep, I like with all the stuff I did at the beginning, talking to people, networking. A lot of people are aware of what we're doing, so that's good. It's in the collective consciousness. And I estimate nonprofit status in 2022 or sooner, and this will provide us with more like liability for everybody involved in protection in case, you know, something goes wrong with this low risk operation. But, you know, lawyers are all about, it might be low risk, but, you know, these are the risks. So, okay. And so with enough love and attention, the project will develop and grow. That's my hope. So, okay, let's do a Q&A. Andrew, can you open it up to everybody?
Can do. Dan, do you want to call on people or should I?
Could you please?
Yeah, first hand I'm seeing is Kira Lavenger. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Hi, so I think this is a really great idea. I wanted to know if there are suggested guidelines for the meetings. You know, humans as a whole, you know, tend to I don't know, you know, be difficult in general. So I'm wondering if there's, you know, sort of suggested guidelines for the, you know, for the meetings.
When you say meetings, what meetings are you referring to exactly?
I mean the hour, you know, the hour friendship call.
Oh, when the friendships are building friendships with each other?
Right.
Well, you know, it's an organic thing, and there's in the beginning like a getting to know each other process, and you know, there are issues that might come up, such as, you know, people might push boundaries and how to set those boundaries in a kind way. We talk about that during our group meetings when the volunteers meet as a group, and we're going to be talking more about that. And there might be some trainings that we could we'll see about, and some learning opportunities on creating boundaries and so forth. But it's really, you know, it's like friendship. It's an organic thing. You know, there's hardly any rules for it.
Thank you.
Anyone that doesn't have their camera on can also, we can also take questions in the chat if that's easier for you as well. Patricia, are you raising your hand? Patricia Williams, or are you just stretching?
No, I'm just stretching, but I'm glad to get this information, though it's really important to communicate with others, you know, around the world about, you know, just like-minded people. So yeah, I'm definitely interested. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And like one thought I had was like, do the volunteers have to be from New York City, or do the friends have to be from New York City? I don't think they do. I mean, I can envision a volunteer friend building a friendship with a friend from, California, or even like the United Kingdom, or if they speak Spanish, then a Spanish kind. What the only barrier is the language, and so. I would have to ask the lawyers if that is possible, because often when a nonprofit's created, it has to be very regional. But I'd like people to, it's the connection that's important. It's not, serving a particular region. And friendship. I mean, come on.
I see Philip Williams Cook has his hand up.
Yes, hello. Yes, when I first figured out the project, then I was interested right away. And one person that I interviewed, and I just say, this is very fantastic initiative, and I for a really good success. Thank you.
Philip, I'm sorry, but it was very hard. It was like breaking up, and breaking up is hard to do.
All right, I'll try this. I guess, can you hear me now? Am I broken up?
That's better.
I guess, I just want to, when I found out about, the Chapter project, I was excited right away, and I was one of the interviewees, and I'm looking forward to the many success of this group. It's a great initiative, and my hope is that it will go to the moon.
Okay, so what I gathered from that, and it was still breaking up a bit, but I gathered little pieces. So that was basically a comment saying, like, go for it, and good luck, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Michelle Dyson asked in the chat how to get involved.
Oh, okay. That's my next. Want to get involved? So that's my email. And Andrew, I'm sorry to ask you this. I mean, I have this thing open, so I don't have access to the chat. Is it possible you could paste or copy the City Voices email into chat?
Just did.
Oh, thank you. So that's my email, and I look at it every day, and just it's as simple as sending me an email. Oh, and please put your email in the chat if you want me to connect with you. And there's Peer Workers United support group, there's the Friendship Project, there's the Facebook page, there's if you're in New York City, we do face-to-face events. We're having one on next Sunday, the 18th. We're meeting at Columbus Circle. So please put your email in the chat, and I will add you to the email list.
Rita Cronese asked in the chat, what's the difference between friendship and peer support?
Oh, wow. Oh my God. Well, I don't, I'm not an expert in peer support. I mean, I like to say I've been doing peer support for many years, but is peer support like strictly this or strictly that? I know that intentional peer support has more definitions of what it should be. And I think friendship is just, I would hazard a guess that friendship is has a lot of elements of peer support in it, like creating a space for an open space where you and your friend can be in that bubble together of shared space and freedom and sharing and support. But maybe friendship is a little bit broader than peer support, maybe. Does anyone else have any ideas about this question?
This is Catherine. I just joined kind of late, but you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, I had a friend, I met a friend, and as I said, I'm a reservist, I'm a retired reservist. I met a friend and she was transitioning from active duty. And the more I got to know her, I said, well, something is very strange about this relationship because, I just met her. But she had gotten herself, I don't know what really happened to her, but I could not, she seemed like she had a mental illness, it seemed like, and I couldn't tell, she told me some things that had happened to me, but I could not, when I looked at how she was acting and when I was listening to what she said, I could not make sense of it. Probably I don't have the training, but I think that was I call myself a peer, and I have a healthcare background, but she had such bad problems, and it seems like she couldn't get the help she needed. And as a peer, you don't need to, I feel like I shouldn't be asking a lot of questions because I can't really, direct them in all the time in the right direction. But she was telling me all this stuff, and sometimes I just couldn't take it. It was just so mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling, mind-blowing, right?
Mind-boggling. Well, I don't know how you define that, but anyway, I
mind-boggling means you were confused. You were not like taken aback, but you were confused by it.
Yeah, I was confused. And I know another person who had PTSD. She was a veteran, but I never got into her, because I know she has professional help. And I was like a friend to her, but even, but I think she may have some problems with relationship. And I'm not going to tamper with that. I just accept her as she is.
So Catherine, what's your question?
I couldn't tell the difference. Okay, I felt like I said the last one was a friend. The other one was somebody I met. And and I was trying to be a peer to her, but it was over my head. I could have been a friend to her, but I couldn't do it because of how she was. Probably doesn't make sense.
No, that makes sense. And, it's not always easy. If someone's in an extreme state and they're speaking in tongues.
No, they're not speaking in tongues, but she was being harassed.
Well, when I say speaking in tongues, I mean what they're saying doesn't make sense to you. Like you said, it didn't make sense to you, right?
Right. And,
That's because they're experiencing something and it's hard to translate that into regular language. But the best thing you can do is just, if you want to provide peer support or be a friend, is to really just create that space and listen.
Yeah, well, I was trying peer support because I had just met her, so I didn't know a whole lot about her. But sometimes she'd get on the phone and she'd be talking and I personally couldn't take it, So after a while, it's like broke off. But I wonder what happened to her. Once in a while, I wonder what happened to her. But I come up with a question mark about what I should have done, should have or should not have done. So it was crazy for me, but it was scary in a way too.
Yeah. Well, you tried your best. What can I say? You tried your best. Anyone else?
Yeah, I see Obadiah has had his hand up for a while.
Hello, I'm very excited about your idea, Dan. And I work for a peer organization that serves people who've been justice involved in. I think this may benefit some of the people who are coming outside of prison, so they can have friends who are positive and not always be with the friends who got them in trouble in the first place. So I'm excited about the possibilities, but I wanted to ask you about the legal issue. You mentioned that all this work is done on the phone. And to me, when I think of friend, it doesn't seem like I put conditions on it. Like, you know, if I have a friend and I want to go to a coffee house and have coffee, we do that. And so I wanted to ask about the legal parts of that, because these are volunteers, they're not paid. This question is not meant to be critical. I'm asking from a point of not knowing, but it just seems like something is missing if people can't meet in person. So I wanted to ask a little bit more about the legality of that. Could you talk about that, please?
Yeah, I know that there's some people who are like perfectly okay. Yeah, hey, I talked, you know, like my mother who has health problems and can't get out much. She's like, yeah, I love talking to my friends, and that's enough for me. And if she can do face chat, which she can't, that would be even better for her. But some people feel that friendship is, you know, it's more than just talking on the, so there's a couple of camps here. Some people feel like, yeah, I want to meet a friend in person. It's not really friendship without that. But the liability issue, meetings in person, from what I understand, carries more of a liability issue than just virtual and phone meetings, or I mean talks, friendship, conversation. You know, and you know, in another way, like I was suggesting that friends meet, you know, across, you know, countries or states, so it's not always possible to meet in person. But hey, you know, I'm not gonna like, it's beyond the scope of this project, but if friends want, if they are with it, if they can, if it's possible, they can meet. I would say to meet in a public place, and you know, just don't take anyone home, and you know, and just have fun. But that's beyond the scope of this project, though, for liability issues.
Jeanette Toledo, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. I kind of want to ask about ask about the difference between peer support and friendship. I have been kind of like an advisor with Dan, and peer support is more. I mean, we give out many resources. Friendship, we're not giving resources. Friendship, we just there to listen and you know, to hear what's going on.
A little hard to hear you.
But not as a peer support. It's resources. And
Jeanette, you're breaking up.
the things.
Jeanette,
I don't know if that kind of the difference.
Jeanette, can you hear me, Jeanette? Jeanette?
Yeah.
It's very hard. It's very hard to make out what you're saying.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, try it.
Can you hear me now? Okay. No, I just wanted to say that the friendship project is more to listen and say, you know, I'm here to listen, you know, to give more empathy. And for the peer support worker utilizes empathy as well as resources. So,
Jeanette, I'm sorry. It's impossible. It's impossible.
I'm sorry.
Put it in the chat, Jeanette, because we can't hear you, okay? We'll read your chat.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
This is Michelle Dyson, and I just wanted to kind of throw out there that, you know, people have had pen pals forever. You know, you can build friendships and real relationships on paper, via internet, the telephone, Facebook, whatever. You know, I mean, a real personal interaction, I think, is always best if you can actually be face to face and in person, but that's not our only option. And I think we need to keep our options open, and in that way, we can reach more people than just those in our local area. And that's all I gotta say. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you for saying that.
I see Laura has a hand up, and this might be our last question. We're coming up on our end time.
I was just actually going to speak to the peer versus friend role specifically. I work as a certified recovery peer advocate within New York City Health and Hospitals, and the job role is very, very specific. As a peer, I'm using my lived experience, either about my addiction, about my recovery, about my dual diagnosis and mental health, when it will help in my facility called help a patient take maybe one step because of the bond and because of that sharing to move towards addiction recovery, and then also to understand the benefit of the mental health recovery, the dual diagnosis part of it. And I don't get to be friends with those. That's disallowed at at the hospital due to a liability perspective. But can I tell you that I have kept in touch with someone who did become a friend just based on the conversations, and reached out to me on my own kind of private peer level, which is like a great hybrid for me between, you know, being a friend and being a peer in this relationship. But I see being a friend as so much more, and so varied in the conversation. This is you can talk about just how you feel, you know, when someone asks you
Oh,
something,
Laura, you're breaking up.
possible.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Okay. Oh, wow. Can you hear me now?
Not really. Laura, put it in the chat. Please put it in the chat. Andrew, do we have anything in the chat from Jeanette Toledo or Laura?
I'm not seeing it.
Okay. Well, this has been such a privilege and an honor for me. I want to thank you all for coming, and hopefully we can continue the conversation. So email me and we'll continue discussing, okay? And put your email in the chat if you haven't done so yet. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.